And that's why this race is so critical. We're not talking about a 6-1 majority for Dems. No, it's 4-3 right now. This is our best chance to flip the Supreme Court. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and we have a critical race coming up in the state of Wisconsin, and not just any random election that, could be important, but not really. No, this election will decide the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. Yeah, whoever wins this race, whether it's a Democrat Susan Crawford or the Republican Brian Schimmel, that will decide who has the majority in the Supreme Court. And a quick reminder that right now, Democrats have the majority. It's currently 4-3, and if they lose this race, Republicans will flip the Supreme Court for the first time in a couple of years. Now, before we continue, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff. We gotta talk about Wisconsin because, like I said, this is for the Supreme Court. We're not talking about some other random statewide office. Like, yeah, the governorship is important, Secretary of State, yeah, those positions, they're critical, but let's be honest. Especially in a swing state like Wisconsin, you have to have a majority in the Supreme Court. And that's why this race is so critical. We're not talking about a 6-1 majority for Dems. No, it's 4-3 right now. This is our best chance to flip the Supreme Court, and I really believe that Republicans actually have a very good chance at winning Wisconsin in a couple of weeks. Now, I know people are going to have some flashbacks to what happened in 2023. For those that don't remember, we got absolutely killed in this race. We lost by like 12 points. Daniel Kelly got crushed. It was pathetic. I thought Dan Kelly was going to lose, but that was just beyond a beatdown. That was pathetic. I mean, it was like a D+11 electorate. It's like, dude, how do you lose by that much? And that's why many people are saying, well, that's why Democrats are the favorites. I mean, this is an off-year election, and Trump is currently the president. So theoretically, this should be a very easy win for Democrats. Well, it turns out it's not. And in fact, I believe right now, and again, a lot could change, but I believe that the Republican Brian Schimmel is the favorite. I know that sounds crazy, but you look at the current state of the race, I believe, yeah, he is the favorite over Susan Crawford. It's going to be very close either way. Like, I'm not saying to guarantee Schimmel wins, but I think right now, I would rather be Brad Schimmel than Susan Crawford. Now, just to start with, look at the fundraising. Right now, Crawford has outraised Schimmel, which, okay, that is not good for Brad Schimmel whatsoever, because especially in a race like the Supreme Court election, you want to have a fundraising advantage for name recognition and all of that. So I'm not going to say that this is good news for Schimmel, but I would argue that this is still not that good for Crawford. Like, of course, she has a fundraising advantage. That's a big win for her, but compare that to 2023. The Democrat Janet Protasewicz, she outraised Daniel Kelly $17 million to $3 million. Yeah, like quadruple the amount that Dan Kelly rose. That's how much she rose compared to Kelly. Compare that to Crawford. Yeah, she's up by $2 million, but right now, Brad Schimmel has raised $5 million compared to Crawford's $7 million. So yeah, there's a gap, but it's not this overwhelming, $10 million gap that would be critical. But, it's still Democrats. They're currently having the fundraising advantage, which that's usually the case. Usually Democrats, they do have a slight advantage in fundraising. That's just how it works. But this is not the same at all from 2023. In fact, it's very close. Like, you could argue maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe Schimmel can outraise Crawford. It's entirely possible. So right now, the fundraising numbers, yeah, they look good for Crawford, but for starters, again, it's not the same margin as Protasewicz had back in 23. And Brad Schimmel, he's the former Attorney General of Wisconsin. And in fact, in 2018, when all the other Republicans lost statewide, he barely lost. He outran Scott Walker, and he would have won had it not been for third-party candidates. And that's the biggest difference between Dan Kelly and Brad Schimmel. Brad Schimmel was the Attorney General. He won prior elections. So it's not just some random guy they found off the street that never won anything. No, Brad Schimmel, he has an electoral history. And in 2018, in a blue wave, he barely lost when he probably would have won had it not been for third-party candidates. So either way, Brad Schimmel, this fundraising gap, it's not good news for him, but it is not the same as Dan Kelly back in 2023, where he got absolutely crushed in fundraising, and for months, he had no TV ads. He waited till the very last second to have anything on TV. Unlike Schimmel, by the way, who, by the way, he actually was the first one to be on the air. Susan Crawford wasn't. It was Brad Schimmel, and he hit her hard on a lot of things that we'll get to in a second, because Susan Crawford is not Janet Protasewicz. She has a lot of scandals. She's not a good judge, and people began to look more into her. She is not Protasewicz, who again had scandals, but nowhere near as egregious as Crawford was. But okay, the fundraising gap, it's not the best for Schimmel. You could argue, you know, he wants to close the gap, but it seems like already he is closing the gap, because last night it was announced that an Elon Musk funded group is making significant ad buys in Wisconsin starting this Thursday. Yeah. So Elon Musk is finally getting involved in Wisconsin. And the first ad buy is like $1 million. And it sounds like Elon Musk is going to spend a lot of money here. He is serious about winning Wisconsin. Like, this was a big question. Like, what would Elon Musk do in off-year elections? What was 2024 just a one-off? Was it a fluke? What's going on here? But it turns out, no. Elon Musk is serious about helping Republicans up and down the ballot in 2025, 2026, and this is a huge difference from 2023. We did not have an Elon Musk back then. Now we do. We have Elon Musk, who's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, which, let's be honest, for politics, that's infinite money. That's fuck you money. He could spend $100 million on Wisconsin, and he would notice no change to his net worth. In fact, it probably would go up another $10 billion tomorrow. But either way, that's why it's so big to have someone like Elon Musk. He could spend hundreds of millions of dollars if he wants to. He's not going to, but it sounds like they're going to spend at least, you know, a couple $1 million at a bare minimum. So this fundraising advantage for Crawford, it's gone. She does not have this advantage if you factor in what Elon Musk is potentially going to spend. If not, Brad Schimmel could actually outspend Crawford if you factor in Elon Musk. And that's why it's a big deal if Musk is getting involved, because already Schimmel's only down by a couple $1 million. And if Elon Musk actually spends money, which he's going to, it's confirmed now, it looks like Brad Schimmel could actually run roughly even with Crawford, which is a far cry from 2023 when Democrats outspent Kelly like by $14 million, which is a huge gap. I mean, I don't know what Dan Kelly was doing, but either way, it does seem like we're going to have this fundraising gap. It's already closed, but it seems like there's a chance Schimmel could actually outspend Crawford. But okay, fundraising, spending, all that stuff, that's not everything. I understand that. And in fact, we do got some polling that was released now. One was released a couple weeks ago, and the other one, it is a Republican group. So you got to be careful with it, especially for a race like the Supreme Court election. A lot could change. Many people are undecided. But look at this. From January, we had a poll from, I believe, RMG Research, and they found Brad Schimmel up by 5. Yeah, up by 5 points. Now, obviously, this was back in January, and, well, this was with a lot of undecideds. So you could argue maybe this poll, you could look at it and say, okay, that's maybe the starting point. Maybe that's just proof that Schimmel has name recognition over Crawford, which could give him a slight advantage. But okay, fine. It's from January. A lot has changed. I get that. But we have a brand new poll from Tip, which is a good pollster. They are a top-tier pollster. I think in 2024, they were off a little bit. Like, I think they changed methodology a little bit, and they actually overstated Democrats in a bunch of places. But either way, they're still a good pollster. It's not like some shitty pollster like, I don't know, the New York Times or Marist or whatever. They are a good pollster most of the time. And, well, they found Brad Schimmel up by 2 over Crawford, which is within the margin of error. It's, you know, the margin of error is 3 points. He's up by 2. So yeah, it's a very close race. But it does seem like right now, Brad Schimmel is the slight favorite. And in fact, this was actually a week ago, so maybe these numbers are a bit outdated, but the point is, it seems like Brad Schimmel is currently leading over Crawford. And I know this was sponsored by League of Workers, which is a Republican-leaning group. I believe this is actually Steve Cortez's group. So, yeah, it can be maybe a little bit biased towards Schimmel. I get that. But it does seem like this lines up very well with what we saw back in January, where Crawford was down by 5, but that was more so name recognition. Now that they spent a bunch of money on ads, it seems like both candidates, their name recognition has gone up, but still, Schimmel's up by 2. And if Elon Musk spends a couple $1 million, which it sounds like he will, Susan Crawford could be in huge trouble in a couple of weeks. Now, again, I'm not saying fundraising and spending, that's not everything, but it does seem like Brad Schimmel, he's on the air, he's actually doing campaign events across the state. It's not like he did one campaign rally and called it a day. No, he's actually doing a bunch of events every single day. He's not messing around. And now the polling is showing Republicans are in a good situation. And in fact, the same poll actually has Trump's favorite bill or job approval at +3. So in Wisconsin right now, Trump's job approval is positive, which is very good for Schimmel. That is very good. Not by +1, it's +3. So that shows that some Democrats, they're probably saying that they approve of Trump. That's a huge deal for Schimmel, because if these voters like Trump, they're probably going to vote for Schimmel, especially if Trump endorses Schimmel, which I think he will. At the end of the day, it's not like with Dan Kelly where he basically told Trump to F off. That's what happened, by the way. This dumbass thought, oh yeah, I can win Wisconsin without Trump. I don't need Trump. I can win without him. Yeah, how did that go? If Trump would have endorsed Dan Kelly, he would have lost, but he would have lost by a respectable margin, like 2 or 3. But he lost by 11 because he refused to get the endorsement of Trump, and he ran a very shit campaign. That's not the same case here. In fact, it's a complete opposite. Schimmel's running a strong campaign. He's already leading Crawford. Trump has a positive job approval, and the fundraising is not good for Crawford. And that's not even factoring in how much money will Musk really spend. But of everything we talked about today, the biggest indicator for me that I think Crawford is in deep trouble is the fact that she has some real bad scandals that Schimmel's running on. Now, Protasiewicz back in 23, she had scandals as well, but A, they were not to the same scale that Crawford had, and B, Brad Schimmel's actually running on it. For whatever reason, Dan Kelly did not talk about any of the crap against Protasiewicz. He kind of just left it there. He talked about it maybe once, but outside of that, he didn't say a damn word about any of the scandals Protasiewicz had. Schimmel, meanwhile, is talking about it every single day. All of his ads are basically talking about, hey, Crawford has some very sketchy things about her. Like, her track record as a judge is awful. I recommend people go follow Wisconsin right now on Twitter, because they are exposing all the crap that Crawford is doing. I can't show some of the stuff because it is awful. Some of the stuff she did as a judge in Madison, which again, of course she's from Madison. She's a nut job from Madison. That explains quite a bit, by the way. But you can go look at Wisconsin right now, and they're showing some very bad things about Crawford. Like, we're not talking about some minor details. No, we're talking about some very ugly things. But we'll see what happens. Maybe Crawford does win. I'm not saying it's a guarantee Schimmel does win. I still think it's going to be a close race, but I think right now, once again, a lot could change. It's only February 18th. Anything could change. But I would say right now, Crawford is probably going to lose by half a point. But again, maybe it changed. Maybe next month Crawford wins by 5. It's entirely possible, but right now I would say, yeah, I would rather be Brad Schimmel than Crawford. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.